How are you?
Good, how are you?
I'm good, thanks.
Thank you for willing to do this.
Of course. Nice to meet you. I'm Veronica.
Yeah, you as well, Chris.
Hi.
And start from the beginning and ask, even prior to voiceover, was one of your first acting jobs playing Jim Hawkins in Treasure Island?
Gosh, I did so much before that.
Okay.
Um, that was on tour, and before that, I had toured the U.S. with for 2 years actually. And actually for that same company, I went out as a substitute for that. Um, for Jim Hawkins. Before that, I was in Little Women with Theater Works.
Okay.
And I toured, gosh, I think we toured, I can't remember if it was a half year or a whole year for that. And then I toured the US for 2 years with two other acting, like the same company, but two seasons.
Hmm.
And, I'd done a ton of stuff before that, actually.
Okay. And what was
Yeah.
the radio play for WGBH that you?
We did some Americans Abroad.
Okay.
Gosh, I can't remember who wrote that right now. It's like on the tip of my tongue. You know how sometimes you have like the letters are forming, but I can't remember who wrote it right now.
Okay.
But yeah, I got to be in that, which was pretty cool, actually. It was live, so there was an audience there for it, but it was only heard on the radio.
Hmm. And what was your experience working on the Batman stunt show?
Oh, wow. So that we did 5 shows a day. They were about 20, 22-minute shows. Um, and that was what I really remember. First of all, it was an incredibly great cast, but it was super, super hot because Six Flags in New Jersey is hot, muggy, in the summertime. At least you're near the beach. That was a good thing. But where the stunt show was just asphalt. So when it was 95 degrees, it was 104 degrees where we were performing.
Hmm.
So it was hot. We did those 5 shows. So you would basically do the whole show and then you have to rest in the trailer in between because you were just exhausted from the heat.
Hmm.
But it was super fun.
How long after that did anime work come into the picture?
I think that was only in the summer, so I was doing other work during the year in between.
Okay.
Um, I think I probably had my first anime job in 96, 1996, maybe 96, 97, something like that.
And did it all start with Slayers?
No, I had an audition for another anime that I was cast in, and it was for Central Park Media.
Right.
And then because of that, they said, "Oh, can you come audition for this? Can you audition for this?" And I was doing some other things. Honestly, I don't remember the names of everything, but Slayers is probably the first um, anime that I had a role that was kind of big,
Right.
you know, that was in more than one episode or that was fun to play.
And considering your experience up until that point, did you take to dubbing easier or was it still difficult for you?
I think that's an interesting thing. I think your cold reading skills really help in dubbing because you're skimming the script to see what's happened before you in the script, what other people have said. And then you're kind of reading the line as you're looking up at the screen for the lip to match the lip flap. So you're kind of not quite memorizing, but you're quickly learning the line while you're watching the flap and doing it at the same time. So I, I suppose, yeah, just my experience of being in plays and auditioning for other things, it just kind of when your mind is working like that, it definitely helps. But it's a really weird, it's a weird career to have where you're working on stuff and you put your 100% in, and then when you leave, you just kind of leave it behind because I don't really get a chance to watch what I've worked on. And when you're working on it, you only see your own lines.
Yeah.
So it's hard to even know what the through line is. So like with Pokemon, at least I was in a lot of the scenes. So I knew kind of what the show was about. Other things that I pop into, you don't have a very good idea of what's happening.
Right.
You have to just act the moment.
And with on the topic of Amelia, was she someone that you could personally relate to anything with?
Well, she's magical and she's high spirited. I suppose I I can see myself in that. Yeah, she definitely has like Ash too, has a really positive outlook on life and is always trying to make things better.
Mm-hmm.
So in that sense, I think I've come to appreciate that in myself, whereas before I might not have known that was important to me, but I can identify that more now.
And for people who don't know, and just because I think it's really interesting to watch, what is the breakdown of how you come up with Ash's voice?
Oh, well, for most anime, you hear the original.
Right.
For most of it, you hear the original actor or actress in whatever language it happens to be. In anime, mostly is Japanese, but whenever you're dubbing something, and most of the time they want the voice to be kind of in that zone. So if it's a high voice, they want it to be still kind of up there. If she's like really like this or kind of shy, and you kind of you hear it for a second and then you just kind of jump in.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how the audition for Pokemon was. We got to hear small clips and they wanted the voices to be kind of in that zone.
Yep.
So for Ash, I remember listening to that and then just doing my best. And then as we kind of honed the voice, I thought of Spritle in Speed Racer and Rudolph in the those little stop action Christmas cartoons. So, like she thinks I'm cute. Rudolph is kind of up in here and Ash is here kind of, but then he drops back a little bit. And same thing, Spritle was like, candy, he's kind of in here. So that it's all kind of a piece. And my brother was 10 at the time and I recorded him. So I kind of used his voice as another way to figure out what the zone was.
Yeah. I know it's on the opposite side of lighter roles, but I know one of your more popular boy roles is playing young Griffith in the first Berserk series.
Yeah. Those are pretty intense for sure.
Mm-hmm.
I definitely prefer doing things that are a bit more light and friendly and funny and not very violent.
Mm-hmm.
But that's a bit more violent for sure. Not for every audience.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that is one of my signature questions, is always asking what is the darkest emotional headspace you've had to get into for a character?
I think, Night on the Galactic Railway.
Yeah.
That is pretty interesting because there was so much space in that and silence. And so there was a lot of like breathing, and not that it was depressing, but just to kind of be quiet,
Mm-hmm.
in a way. That I really enjoyed. And I don't know that I am cast in things that are very dark. I mean, I do a lot of audiobooks,
Right.
and so certainly those get a bit more emotional from whatever the characters are going through. Yeah, some of them have been pretty dark. Kids in the kids genre or the young adult genre. So that's always really fun. Even when they're heavy issues, it's always, the stories are told in a really interesting way.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a lot to play as an actor when you're telling the story.
And it's not necessarily the case where where the movie was dark, but I thought it was cool that there's been recent rediscovery of your roles as Botan and Yukina and Yu Yu Hakusho.
Oh, yeah, which is really interesting that that's come back.
Yeah.
I guess maybe someone else is doing it now, or I'm not really sure, but people are really excited about that. So, yeah, that's come out of nowhere for me. that it's come back. Yeah. Interesting. That's the thing. I mean, for all of us, it's not just the work that you do as an actor, but as just a normal person, your actions, what will come back to you later, or what someone who you knew in elementary school could come back and say, yeah, I always remember when you did that one thing and it was so nice and it just stayed with me. And now I'm 90 years old and I still remember, or like those are the things that we all have to give our 100%. We all have to be there for each other because you don't know what's going to come back around, what's going to make an impact on people.
Right.
So yeah, it's really interesting.
Would your first video game be in Shadow Hearts?
Ape Escape? Was that the thing?
Yeah.
Jimmy and Ape Escape? I think that might have been one of the first video games that we were working on, that a bunch of us worked on who also were working on Pokemon and Yu-Gi-Oh! And stuff. Right. Yeah, that could have been one of the first ones I worked on.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is there much of a memory with Shadow Hearts?
Not specifically.
Okay.
Because video games, you just do lines. So a lot of times it's so disconnected from everything. You don't even know the other characters that you're working off of, or how the lines will be used in the game, or often it's just lines and then reactions and jumps and falls and getting hit and things like that. So yeah, they're all very disconnected for me. In Fire Emblem 3 Houses, we do have a lot of actual scenes. Yeah. And even though I'm not working with anyone else when we're recording, I can still see the lines that I'm reacting to, or what I'm answering, or how the person answers me. So I can skim that and have an idea of the conversation. That's pretty different from most of the games I work on.
Do you think you have a lot of affinity with Manuela?
I don't know. In some ways, I wish I did. She's an incredibly talented opera singer, and she had this huge life, and then she turns to be a teacher. And I don't know. I don't think I'm quite as needy as she is. She's really she wants people so much to say how great she is. And I do think in teaching her students, she wants them to become the best. But I do think some of her needs get in the way. I don't know that I'm like that necessarily. I don't really care about stuff like that. I don't really. Yeah, I don't. Yeah. So in that way, I'm not like her.
Okay.
Hopefully no one will say, actually. Hopefully not.
Who do you think you can relate the most to with characters you've played?
Well, I do, in a way, Ash, I think. I mean, I had 8 years to really figure out who he was. And I think he kind of is all of us. Yeah. And so there's a part of him in all of us. There's that 10-year-old, anything is possible. And that optimism, like I said before, and being so positive. I like to think that I am like that, but also I love to play sports. I love to be outside. I like to, learn things. I'm always trying to learn. And in that sense, I share that with him. So and he gets to do things. He has a little more fun than I do in real life, like battling and everything. He's on a big adventure. He doesn't have to worry about money. It's pretty awesome.
Well, for me, it gets a lot more, just because of how realistic the series is, it's a lot more easy to connect with Yukino and his and her circumstances.
Yeah, isn't that a lovely series? It's so real and not real, but it's also like the way we all live in our heads. All of your emotions can come all at once, but she really lets them out, and she's able to let them out where we all really can't do that. It's just not polite. But I loved working on that. It was so easy to throw myself into it, and I really like how it came out. I loved the cast in that. Amazing. The direction was really great. That was a great a great thing to work on. Many shows that I work on, everybody's really giving their 100%, you know, and that, I think it really came together. Yeah, I love that. I'm glad you like it.
Yeah.
Do you see yourself as Yukino, or do you see yourself as I forget the love interest?
Arima.
Arima, yeah, that's right.
Yeah. Well, kind of both of them.
I think we all could, though.
Yeah.
You don't have to be a boy or a girl to like one or the other. I think that's the beauty of these stories, that you can be anything, and you can see yourself in all of them.
Your role in Arya, I'm sure that's another character that's more easy to relate to.
Yeah, that show is really beautiful. I started working on it, and then my daughter was doing a summer abroad, like a month abroad, in Italy, and we got to go to Venice. And I was like, oh my gosh, it's just like in Aria, because so much of it is the same.
Yeah.
And that the beautiful tranquility in that show, that's real, you know? I was really amazing. I loved working on that too. I love a lot of things I work on. So,
yeah.
But that was really beautiful. And again, just the silences of it. And I didn't get to watch a lot of it while we were working on it, but because she's in it and she's like, you know, rowing down the canal there, and she has a sigh or something. So I did get to watch a little bit more than I usually get to watch.
This is a more obscure one, but your role was really cool in it. Angel Sanctuary.
Oh yeah. What was that? Who was that? I don't remember what that character's name was.
Well, I know most recently, it was cool hearing you in The World's Finest Assassin gets reincarnated.
Right?
Yeah.
That's a really weird show, and just really fun. Plus, there's all this anime that I'm doing lately that has those enormously long titles, which is pretty funny. Yeah, that one's strange, because I'm not quite sure of the storyline so much, except that we just keep diving back to see what's happened with various people assigned to kill the hero. So, but a great character to play because she's so aloof and just kind of, yeah, it's really fun.
And this is a more comedic show. I actually had a lot of attachment to growing up. Ninja Nonsense.
Oh yeah, really great. That and Nana 7 of 7 I kind of put together because they're like small, energetic characters, and yeah, Ninja Nonsense. Most of those things I remember going to the studio where we recorded it more than I remember everything that happened in it.
Yeah.
Yeah, some really cool stuff. I have some copies of some things, but not much that I was given. So that I think I have. I should rewatch it, at least a bit of it. All of this stuff, if I see a scene, it all comes back to me. Because, you know, like when you get into the studio, again, to give your 100%, you just focus in, figure out who the character is, and you do it. But then I would leave and go somewhere else to work, so I leave it. But as soon as I hear it or see the character again, then I remember the whole thing. But like sitting here again in my closet, yeah, I don't remember like what the storyline was.
Okay. And it's on the question on the other, like opposite side of the microphone. What was your personal experience being directed by Mike Nicholas for various series?
Oh yeah, he's so great. And then we also were in Ninja Turtles together.
Yep.
So yeah, we've worked on stuff together, and he's a great director. He's very specific. He's really talented. Yeah, so it's always really great.
Or what about with Sean Schemmel started directing you guys like later on?
Yeah, we worked on Nana 7 of 7 together.
Yep.
Actually, that was pretty great. Really crazy because the Nanas, each one had to have a response. So you would have like we'd go through and do all the regular Nana, and then the angry Nana, and then the sad Nana, and then there's a lot of those lines that were like, and they were all, and they had to all be layered in. So it was grueling. But we had a good time working on it. Luckily, we had some time for that, because a lot of times you're just they don't give you a lot of time to record an episode. But here I was doing 8 characters, so sometimes 8, 7 or 8. So at least we had a little time.
Is that the case? There's like one single role, do you think, where it was difficult to get a handle of playing a multifaceted character like that?
I don't think it's ever difficult. I think the difficulty can come back in, when you come, if there are many episodes, when you come back and I don't think I really don't have any shows that I've started working on and we know we have a certain number of episodes. I don't recall any time where I knew the story arc. So if you start working here in the beginning and then it goes along and then suddenly the character's doing all this other stuff, like Sailor Pluto, for instance, she has an arc that she's the outer guardian, but then she also is kind of a real normal real life person. Then she's able to actually show compassion, whereas when she's really Sailor Pluto, she holds everything back. So that's something that I didn't know that she would even have that. So when we started working, when I got on the project, we had to re-record a lot because she was too warm. And we had to just bring it back because she doesn't really know how to engage with people. And then later on, she was in like normal clothes and she had a normal life, and then she could show some sadness. And it was that, I think, again, with most things, not knowing the story arc at all, you have to figure it out as you're going. And that was definitely, we had to kind of tiptoe around and figure out, well, how much can she show? Like who is she now? And so I think in that sense, that was difficult, challenging. But for that, you're not making up your own ideas about it. We're kind of told very specifically what they in Japan want, and then have to work around that. But it was still we really kind of worked through it to figure out what she could do and couldn't do.
And everyone else that I've talked to who's been part of the Sailor Moon redub said that they auditioned for a lot of the other main characters. Was that your case as well?
Yeah, definitely. They were already working on it before I moved to Los Angeles. So certainly I never auditioned in the beginning. But I do remember auditioning for Sailor Pluto and Chibiusa at the same time. But not, I'd seen the show before, but I didn't really know who they were, nor was I kind of like, oh my gosh, I hope I do it exactly like whatever was in the past, because I didn't really know it. I could just audition and try to follow the bit of direction they had given.
Oh, were all those various monsters that you played in Sailor Moon, were those just handed to you?
Yeah, while I was there.
Yeah.
Yeah. All of that stuff it's a great challenge as an actor, because you're just there and then you're just doing stuff. Smaller characters, I say in quotes, because there are no small roles. You can make them as great as you want them to be, or as they can be, but roles with fewer lines are usually just kind of like, oh yeah, could you do this while you're here, could you do this? So that's always really fun. Good challenge for you as an actor.
I actually have because my main hobby is collecting animation cells and like production art for anime.
Oh, really?
So I have a sketch set of
oh, wow,
Chibiusa, Mamoru, Usagi.
Oh, wow,
Haruka and Michiru. Yeah,
that's really neat.
Yeah.
Where'd you get that? Did you just find it somewhere, or?
No, I haven't been to Japan, but there's a store downtown Tokyo that you can sell any production art that you have there for anime on consignment.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
Where do you live?
I'm in Minneapolis.
Oh, okay. That's nice. Beautiful city.
Have you ever been up here for anything?
I have. Yeah, I've been all over the country touring with theater companies, and then I travel and all of that. So yeah, I love Minneapolis. I'd love to come to a convention, that's for sure.
And then I'm going back to more central roles that were early on that people haven't really talked about, Legend of Himiko.
Yes, that was a long time ago too. I'd have to see the picture and then I could tell you more about it.
Okay. What about with Two Heart? Is that kind of the same instance?
Yes.
Okay.
I don't know. Does it say what character I played in that?
Yeah, Aoi Matsubara.
Yes, I was in that. I can't tell you anything about it. I just don't know.
Okay. And I know that you're not particularly fond of the series, but there's a pretty good fan following still with Iki Tosin.
Is there?
Yeah.
Yeah, I just, I'm not so, I don't know. It's not really that I'm against it so much, but I really like girls in shows to be equal to the boys. And I just think I don't know, it's just not I wasn't really aware of the content before I started working on it. And I didn't become aware of it until I got to the studio that day to start working on it.
Mm-hmm.
And then there was more of it. So then I just kept going.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I just think that we all need equal representation, and for not just girls, but boys as well, everyone, trans, gay, everything. So, I just like people to be treated more fairly and not as an object.
Right.
So I try to avoid projects like that. But, they are powerful and they have, there's some definite pluses to the show, I think. But the negatives are kind of why I don't really talk about it that much.
Yeah. Well, there is another case. It's a more normal, like, feudal Japan era show, but you have a cool role as Samurai Deeper Kyo.
Right.
Yeah.
Which was kind of, again, more violent than I usually like, but she was a really cool character and very, I don't know, strong, and she was really figuring herself out, and that was definitely fun to play.
Mm-hmm.
And since I have stage combat training, it's always fun to kind of do fighting in a show because you're, using some of that without actually having to pick up a stick or a sword. So it's really fun. I would be like, I put that, or throwing the Pokeball, I would go, ha! I have that throwing, but you can't really throw something because then you knock everything over. A little bit of that, I think, helps the breath go in the right way.
Mm-hmm.
So it propels it, or like, I'm coming, ah! You're here, but if you move too much, then all your clothes make sounds, and you're like, even now my watch is making a sound. I'd have to take this off, and so you figure out how to make it so it sounds like you're doing the movement without really moving.
Yeah.
But I definitely do move around, or like my face contorts and all of that.
Mm-hmm. And going back to Pokemon, I know that you've said before too that Ash's voice isn't the most vocally hygienic to do. Mm-hmm. What do you mean? What do you mean by that?
So, normally you would breathe, you support from your diaphragm, so you're pressing it in as you're speaking, so your sound is coming out. But Ash, even though you're still supporting, it's kind of down in here. So, or he's here, and it's really squeezed. So it's harder to get the air out. And that's not very good for you. So with all of that, you want to try to, you can get this sound, but you can also open it up, and it's not as squeezed, but it makes him a little older. But if he's up here, it's more in here. So you're kind of, you're moving him around and kind of figuring it out so that you can rest in between and kind of shift things. Mm-hmm. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
But it definitely wears on you because you're squeezing and not letting the air just flow through, which is the healthiest way to speak.
Mm-hmm. Has there been any other major anime roles that stand out where it's been hard to sustain the voice for you?
I would say only like in cold and flu season, because if you're like, even right now, I can feel my nose is getting a little stuffy. And so if you're way up here and you've got to avoid this area so that you're not nasally, because like right now, if my nose was stuffed up, it would be a little more here, and I couldn't get up here. So if you've got a cold or something, you've got to be able to find ways to get around that blockage. It's just that, and like maneuvering when you're not feeling well.
Okay.
Or really when I'm doing a lot of conventions, especially now with a mask on, and you're trying to project through the mask and you're not really getting air and moisture, you can't drink water during the day. So
Yeah.
I tend to lose my voice a bit. And I definitely have some vocal loss by the end of the weekend. And so when you're doing like a just a regular going through your whole range, I can feel my voice pops out, and it would go like,
Mhm.
and I can see that I've lost it in spaces. So then I have to try to figure out where to put my voice so you don't know that I've lost it until it comes back.
Yeah.
And that's pretty scary,
Mhm.
actually. So I just try to rest a lot and try not to speak incorrectly when I'm out,
Mhm.
which is hard.
And can you talk a bit about going off of an anime for a sec? Can you talk
Mhm.
about how, like the self discipline process for doing audiobooks, recording from home?
Oh gosh. Yeah, so recording anything from home is difficult because you have to, first of all, make sure it's quiet, all that basic thing. But there's something about when you leave your house and you go to work, you have time to kind of get in your headspace.
Hmm.
So whether you're walking or biking or driving, you still have the time to think about what you're going to work on. You can kind of warm up a little bit, and then you get there and you are in a booth and you're just focusing on that, or you're at your office at your desk, or you're at school. You're in that space where all you're doing is that job. Here, um I still I come into my closet, but I'm coming in from like just making toast or popping back over here. Oh, shoot. And I've got to run and do this thing. And maybe I should have washed the dishes. And then and then I still, if the, sometimes I have to let people in for packages in my building. And so I've
Yeah.
got that going. And, there's all this stuff. And you have to find a way to block it all out. And again, just be in this moment. But now I'm also editing things, I'm engineering it myself. I'm doing all of those things. And then when you're doing an audiobook, you have all of that, plus you have to find time to read the book, mark up who's speaking, all of those things. And then I'm doing more editing as I go. And then I have to listen to myself back, and then I judge it, and then I go further back to pick up. And, like, I don't know, it's just harder because it's harder to cut through all the haze and
Yeah.
just focus on what you're doing. But you have to find a way to, um, I have to keep reminding myself that you have to just tell the story and really just be in the moment to tell the story,
Hmm.
regardless of where you're recording. And even when you're doing a video game, you're still telling that story, even though it's just lines. When you're doing the audiobook, you are weaving the story together because you're the narrator and the characters. So you're still figuring out, without someone there, you're still figuring out how to, you know, am I getting the point across? Am I talking to one person
Hmm.
while I tell this story? So I guess the discipline comes in just reminding yourself and really keeping yourself on task.
Yeah.
So it's definitely harder. I mean, people record from home all the time, but during this time of COVID, I feel like things are harder for all of us.
Right.
Just that brain fog, and it's just there's a lot of trauma and everything going on around you that you've got to focus in a different way. But at least with everybody masked, we can still give hugs. So
Hmm.
it's been nice. I think we all need that. But yeah, we've been really careful as much as you possibly can.
Yeah. So going back to, and I'm sure you've been asked this already, but I can imagine it had to be really cool to come back for Shaman King.
It's been great. And again, like for that, I hear snippets of people who are already in the scene. And it's just so great to be back with the people that I was on the show with before. And it's so fun to be listening and going, oh, wait, I know that voice. I know that, like it's just so great. It's a weird show. definitely just another weird show, but really fun to work on.
Mm-hmm.
And plus the whole team working on it is great.
Yeah.
So that makes it super.
Because there's still a lot of popularity with Winx Club as well.
Yes, I love that show. We watch that every Saturday. It was so fun and sparkly and magical. So being able to be on that and to be a bad character was also really fun.
Mm-hmm.
But she's so pretty that, you know, you don't think she's so bad. It was definitely one of the prettiest characters I've ever gotten to play. Not that that matters, but it was pretty awesome.
Yeah.
But my daughter loved that show, so I was happy to be on it.
Has there been a case where you've had to? I don't think there has been very many cases where you've played villainous characters in anime.
No, like Claudia in Fighting Foodons, she was bad. Who else is like trying to take over the world? Yeah, that no, not really. I don't really get to play bad people that often.
Mm-hmm.
Although I probably would relate to them the most because I'm so evil. Yeah, but playing an evil character is always fun because there's like, you know, and they're lacking. People who are mean are lacking. So, you know, it's always great to be figuring out what that is and what drives them and what do they need, you know, what makes them so terrible.
Mm-hmm.
So they're much more interesting characters to play,
Mm-hmm.
more fun. But everybody wants to be the good guy, so including me, for sure.
As it's not a bad character, but a more female warrior role, Ayame and Kabaneri of the Iron Forker.
Yeah. She was pretty fierce also. But I don't remember how that ended. Like I feel like she was driving towards something and I don't remember if she achieved it or not.
Mm-hmm.
But she definitely was one of the stronger characters, even though I don't know that she believed in herself in the beginning, but she really kind of came into her own.
Right.
Yeah, she was pretty cool, actually.
Was it pretty involved to be anime Conan in the Conan?
No, actually, for that I auditioned. I was in a hotel lobby when my agent called and said, "Look, can you send this audition over right away?" And I was like, "Okay." So I was in the lobby of a hotel in my phone, just like, yeah, talking. And then I was also doing all these things. I had to do tons of stuff, send it off. And then I flew home. And that night, like midnight, I got in. They said, "Okay, you booked it. Can you just record something?" I recorded it at home, sent it in, and that's what they used.
Oh,
So
wow.
I didn't even get to see him or go there or anything.
Oh.
So a lot of things, it's so disconnected, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And that's why your imagination is so important because you have to just put yourself places and make it seem like you are there or you're talking to a bunch of people or all of that stuff, but it's really all in your head,
Mm-hmm.
you know, which is fun and lonely, very lonely. But I did get to do some other stuff for Conan in my real voice, which was also
Okay.
great. All those really funny ads that he had and everything. So I missed the show already. So we'll see what happens in his new incarnation.
And this is probably one of the most recent anime that you worked on where it's also not something you would expect the executioner boss in Akudama
Oh
Drive.
yeah, she was really evil. She's so evil. I forgot about that. Yes, she's very evil. And I think Akudama Drive is now all available. I just
Yeah.
saw something like that's all together. So I guess that's a good thing. But
Mhm.
man, that show is dark, really dark, but great performances. Really fantastic. They did a great job with that. But yeah, that was pretty cool. I mean, a horrible, horrible character. She's just like nobody you want to meet or have lunch with. That's for sure. She's so scary and just like, and a really terrible haircut.
Mhm.
Also.
So is there anything else upcoming in general that you're working on that you can safely talk about or?
You know, I usually don't have things that I can't talk about, but it's more that I don't know what I'm working on.
Okay.
I'm working on a really great audiobook at this exact moment. It's a graphic novel, and I have a few. I always have a million things all at the same time. actually. So like even today I had something this morning, then I had to go to the studio, and then I came back for another job, and I'm talking to you, and then I have something after this. Like, it's things are all jumbled around.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm working on a lot of things, but
Okay.
all of them are fun.
Mhm.
And some things I don't know what it is, and some things I don't know if I'm supposed to say what it is, and other things like Shaman King. Uh, one season just came out today. I just
Yeah.
heard. So
Yep.
I had no idea. So
Hmm.
like all that stuff, unless someone sends me a message and says, "Could you post something because this just came out?" I don't find out until I happen upon it
Okay.
on social media, which is kind of sad. But anyway, yeah, I'm doing a lot of stuff, and my daughter and I are doing stuff together. We're working on some big projects. We're doing a little advent calendar inspired thing now where we're doing like every day from December 1 through December 25, we're doing something
Yep.
on Instagram and Twitter. So we're trying to keep up with that. And I don't know, just stuff, lots of
Mhm.
stuff.
And before I had my final question, it was a funny role that I way early on that I hadn't seen you talk about. Do you remember being in Ping Pong Club?
I do know that I was in that, but I don't remember anything about it. That was
Okay.
probably 2001, maybe.
Because it was
Um,
the character that you played, they were pretending to be in love with Carter Cathcart's character.
I
And
can't. I remember the name of it, but I
yeah,
don't remember. If I saw the character, I would know. Did
okay.
you watch it?
Yeah, it's a really funny, like,
Is it?
yeah,
That's
like,
good to know.
and the lines that you have in it are just like,
Kooky.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I should watch that. Again, I wish I could remember everything I'd worked on because it just kind of goes. My daughter was 2 at the time. So
Hmm.
pretty much my whole life was like working and then getting back to pick her up or whatever, or like time in between either holding her while I'm recording or like all this. So a lot of things, um, it's just all a huge blur.
Okay.
But again, if I saw the character, I would remember it.
Okay.
I'll have to do another interview with you where we're watching things and then we can talk about that. Then
Yeah.
I can give you more insight into it. You're amazing.
Oh,
Really
thank you.
amazing. Yeah.
I actually did have um, it's a story I've told to a few other voice actors of how a role or a game that I was into at the time helped me get over something that was like really scary. When I was in fourth grade, that was when I discovered the Shadow Hearts
Uh-huh.
series of games. And then
Yeah.
just one night, me and my parents were out to eat normally, and like it was a normal, usual night. And then we were ready to leave, and we were told that nobody can leave. And then all of a sudden, heavily armed SWAT policemen come in and turn all the lights off, and everybody who's in the restaurant has to huddle into the two bathrooms because there was a guy who murdered two people and he
Oh
crashed his
my
car outside
God.
the restaurant and he was trying to get inside.
Oh my
And,
God.
and so all of everybody in the restaurant had to stay there until 1 a.m. or something.
Oh my God. That must have been so terrifying.
Yeah. Well, especially since I was however old you are in fourth grade. I mean, I didn't have
Right.
any other way to get out to like cope with that besides whatever
Yeah.
anime or games I was playing at the time. So
Oh my gosh.
yeah.
Oh my gosh. I can't even imagine.
Hmm.
And also to see the armed guards come in. I mean,
Right.
that's scary. Anyway, I hate seeing police with big guns in New York City subways.
Yeah.
And they're keeping us safe, but seeing people with guns is not something that makes me feel safe. And
Hmm.
so to have that, and then it's dark and you're all just waiting there not knowing what's going to happen. Oh
Right.
my gosh. I don't know how you get over that unless you just talk to someone and really go through it so that you can shift those memories out
Hmm.
because those things just come back at weird times.
Yeah.
Wow. Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry to hear that too.
Oh,
It's
that no.
terrible.
I just always make a point of if a voice actor that I'm interviewing was part of something at that time that I was playing
Yeah.
or watching after that, I always make a point of thanking them for being a part of it. So
Yeah, well, it is an interesting thing where we are able to find comfort,
yeah.
we as human beings. And there's a lot of things that you can watch, that you can be part of, or it becomes your family in a way. And that there's, yeah, there's just a comfort in it that you really need.
Mm-hmm.
It shifts through time, like perhaps those same things that brought you comfort then wouldn't now, or
Right.
you may not need it now in the same way. But it's interesting, and how lucky that you were able to find that when you needed it.
Yeah.
I'm so glad. Wow. And look at who you've become. Such an incredible person.
Thank you.
So wonderful, so knowledgeable and interesting.
Well,
Congratulations.
thank you. Well, my final question is always asking, what do you want your legacy to be?
Oh gosh, it's hard to think of a legacy because I like to just keep working,
Yeah.
just keep working on things and always trying to become a better person. But I think ultimately, um, I do try to make a positive difference,
Mm-hmm.
and in that sense leave the world a better place than when I came into it. And so I would hope that, I guess, through the work I've done, or the people that I know, and the relationships that I've formed, that we all feel like we're important, and that we are capable of making a positive difference,
Mm-hmm.
and that we, because we're important, we matter, and that I guess I hope that message is passed along,
Yeah.
because I've been so fortunate to meet so many incredible people, and a lot of it is because of Pokemon,
Mm-hmm.
because I've gotten to go to conventions around the world and hear stories of how that show impacted people's lives and their relationships and their families. And um, I just, I don't know how I became so fortunate to be the steward of that,
Mm-hmm.
to know these stories, um, and so I just hope that I can always uh, be the person that people need me to be, in
Right.
that sense. And so in terms of a legacy, I don't know, but I hope that I will have been able to be there for people when they needed me,
Mm-hmm.
in real life
Right.
also. So it's a convoluted answer, but yeah, it's hard to think about something like that for me when you're just kind of in the moment every day. My
Mm-hmm.
life is like my work. I'm in the moment,
Mm-hmm.
and then I don't think a lot about the past or the future, in a sense,
Right.
just kind of trying to be right here, right now.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, we'll see what happens,
Yeah.
legacy wise.
Well, thank you. I'm glad that we finally got to do this.
I am too. Thank you so much. Congratulations on doing so many episodes.
Oh, thank you.
That's quite an accomplishment also. But thank you for taking the time to chat with me.
Yeah. I'm hopefully
So nice.
hopefully you'll be up here for a convention at some point.
I hope so. I got to put the word out. I'm available. Even in the cold winter, I'd come. So
Yeah.
anytime.
Yeah, it's about to start a big snowstorm here tonight, so kind of sucks.
I was going to go, yay! We're having rain in Los Angeles. We never get rain. So
Oh,
it's
yeah.
pretty great here. Atmospheric river coming through. It's pretty awesome. Anyway, all the best to you.
Yeah, you too.
Thank
Thank
you
you.
so much. I'll talk to you again.
Okay.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye.